prestigious fellow of the World Academy of Productivity Science Canada. Thank you all. I once again welcome you, ma'am. Annapurna ma'am, it's over to you.
Thank you, Mr. Shekhar, for the wonderful introduction of highly intellectual and international person, Dr. Bhargavi, VR. Now, I request all the participants to keep their systems mute. And I request all participants to leave the questions or queries arises during the session in the chat box. After the session, for the further discussion and clarifications during question and answer hour, we'll take all your queries, sirs and madams. I'm really very sure that today's resource person will focus on the multi-dimensional aspects and we'll have a great discussion on globalization of Indian higher education. I don't want to take much time between audience and the speaker. Bhargavi ma'am, over to you, please.
Thank you so much, Dr. Annapurna. At the outset, I must admit that it's a great honor and privilege to be associated with the NITTE institution. My thanks to the management, the principal, Dr. Shanti Iyer, Mr. Janardhan, who connected with me to be a part of this beautiful morning. A very good morning to all the participants here. So before we get started, let me quickly share my screen to all of you. Just confirm if the screen is visible. Is the screen visible?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, yeah.
All right, thank you so much. So here we are, when Dr. Janardhan told me that the theme of the day would be globalization of Indian higher education. So we are all educators who have been working in this space from so many years. I'm sure this entire audience would have participants who come from various walks of life. We have few corporate trainers who have joined us, people from the industry, who are practitioners, and also the faculty fraternity. Some of you might be early career faculty members, some of you may be mid-career members, and some of you might be veterans and very senior members from the teaching fraternity. First of all, I would like to thank all of you for giving your time and joining us for this session. Let me make one thing very clear before we get started. The entire presentation that I'm going to share with all of you is purely my experience. I have taken some of the aspects of the national education policy, what it means, and how we are going to spearhead it in the coming future. And there are certain, of course, thoughts which I have shared, which has been in my practice over the last 17 years by heading the Center for Global Excellence. Now, this is going to be an overview of the entire presentation. We are just going to look into the landscape of the Indian higher education, what exactly the NEP 2020 is bringing in, and the sync that we have with Education 4.0, then look into what exactly the policy offers, then try to justify why do we need this internationalization, and how do we bring in this global mindset. So this is what we are going to discuss in the next about 45 to 50 minutes time. And after that, I would like to leave the floor open for question and answers. Now, if you look at this slide, this has been an eternal struggle that all of us here on this platform have been struggling through. It could be your parents, your grandparents, your children, your siblings. All of us have been going through this eternal struggle of rote learning from ages together. Now, the question is, can we continue with this rote learning in the future as well? Definitely, the answer is no. Now, if you ask me why the answer is no, this is where we have already arrived. It is not a prediction. It is not a forecast, but all of us have reached this destination. We are already witnessing the upsurge of Industry 4.0 with utmost digital convergences happening. We have also reached Education 4.0, and thanks to the uncertainty caused by the pandemic of COVID-19 over the last 1.5 years. By default, you and me as educators, we have already reached Education 4.0. You notice that there's a tectonic shift that is happening in the space of higher education, especially. The entire space of teaching, learning, and evaluation has transformed itself because of technology. So it's not just Education 4.0, it's also about Educator 4.0. Maybe about 24 months ago, none of us had even imagined that we are going to attend a faculty development program on a platform like this. We used to see corporates using Skype and Zoom meetings and using the Slack for their internal communication. But we were absolutely under no forecast, no prediction that we would reach this space of Educator 4.0. Now, over the last 1.5 years, I would like to make a special mention that our role as educators has transformed into the next level. We are no longer teachers or just faculty or just educators. Our role has been transformed into becoming a facilitator, a coach, as well as a mentor. Because all of us have been trying to maintain the social, emotional, and the mental well-being of all the children with whom we interact in our institutions. Now, along with the Industrial Revolution 4.0 and its impact on the education ecosystem, we also notice the impact and implications of this Industrial Revolution even on the space of society, our community where we live and exist. We are noticing more and more interaction with the machines. So there is a fear that, and a concern, are we losing human connections? It is very interesting to know that the Japanese, as a country, they have started focusing and gone one step ahead with something called as Society 4.0, where they are trying to revive the human connections, because the interaction between the machines and the humans is on an increase, and we tend to lose our originality. And it means to say that attitudes and behaviors of human beings who are around us living in the society are influenced with the technology around. And obviously, this has an impact on the entire society, the mindfulness of the society, and the way the society functions. The relationships that we maintain with ourselves, me and myself, between me and the people in these times. Now, the question is, with all these changes around us, are we able to really strike a balance? We have no escape. This is an impact of globalization. We have crossed the geographical and the political boundaries. We absolutely have no control over this concept of globalization. What you see here on the slide, that is the Industry 4.0, Education 4.0, and Society 4.0, are all nothing but an impact of our globalization. And the next important question that all of us have to answer is, are we able to really strike a balance? Are we able to really do it? And the answer is here. The answer could be a yes. The answer could be partially no as well. Any country, for that matter, cannot be completely prepared for all the revolutions that take place around us at no point in time. Now, India is again no exception, that we are also in this race of trying to catch up with this balance of the Industrial Revolution and the education revolution that is happening across the entire globe. Now, I don't want to be very skeptical. I'm basically a very apolitical person. I don't belong to any party. I am just trying to bring in a realistic scenario. I've always felt it's better to keep politics away from the space of education. With all the due respect to all the political parties, the efforts that they have been making, I don't want to touch base on any of those political issues and aspects. I also don't want to bring in what contribution they have made. I am looking at the space of higher education with the lens of an educator. As an educator, what is it that I'm concerned about? And what is that today? Where are we? Where are we heading? Now, as all of you know, India has not been lagging behind in the space of education. Though there are a lot of comments and criticisms that does come through our way in terms of our pedagogy, in terms of our curricula, in terms of the industry academia interface, any system, that this has been my personal belief. We have two choices in life. You have a choice only to comment, or you have a choice to look into the reality and try to think with optimism as to how we can be a change maker. As an individual, I do not have power to bring in changes at the macroeconomic level, at the policy level. I cannot bring in changes as to what exactly the government is planning to do. But yet, I am powerful as an educator, as an individual who can change and transform the lives of thousands of children who come to my institution every academic year. So I am taking this personal responsibility view in understanding where is India? Where are we heading? Where are we now exactly? As all of you know, India has been the second most largest education network across the entire globe after China. And you will be surprised to know that as of May 17th data given by the UGC, currently we have about 981 universities in India. And approximately we have about 45,000 colleges which are existing. Now, I am trying to connect this with our topic of discussion today, that is internationalization and globalization of higher education. You will be surprised to know the number of international students who believe our education system, who have faith in our education system, and who are visiting our country, who are coming to our country for taking their education is just about 6,988 students, which was in 2000. And currently we have reached 47,427 in the academic year 2018-19. And this is as per the report given by IQAC. Just look at the mammoth number of universities and colleges that exist in our country. Look at the number of international students who are believing our system and who are coming to our country. You will also be surprised that the numbers have been slackening in all these aspects of education. It can be undergrad programs, postgrad programs, doctoral programs, or postdoctoral programs. And the highest number of international students who come to our country is Nepal. Then we have Afghanistan, Bangladesh, Sudan, Bhutan, Nigeria, United States. And this data comes from the Education Ministry and the Hindustan Times publication. And very surprising, this is a 2021 data that I'm sharing with you. So it means about 26% of the people, the international students who come to our country, are basically from Nepal. What about the other countries? What about Singapore? What about Malaysia? What about Australia, New Zealand, United Kingdom? Why is it that our international students do not impose faith in us? Of course, as all of us know, there is a huge gap that exists in our entire education ecosystem. Now, another, I can say, an improvement area. I would not like to use the word disappointing and disheartening, because growth and development is a continuous journey. I don't want to blame the country. I don't want to blame the intensity of growth that we are going through. Let's look at everything with a lens of positivity. If you look at with optimism that these are the areas where we have to change, improve ourselves. There is a lot of transformation required in various domains across, in various operations of an educational institution. None of our universities and colleges figure in the top 100 of the world university rankings. That's again an improvement area. It means we are not able to match with the benchmarking that is happening in the space of higher education. And the entire world, the entire corporate, irrespective of the industry and the sector, looks at India. Why do they look at India? Because we are one of the largest talent pools. We are one of the largest workforce providers in the entire globe. Unfortunately, our quality of manpower and the workforce, the employability skills of our graduates is a major threat that we are facing. From Mr. Narayan Murthy to Satya Nadella, everybody talks about the Indian engineers, the Indian financial experts, and the Indian professionals. It can be in healthcare to pharmaceutical to IT to education. We have the best brains existing in our country. But even then, what is happening? It means the growth and development is not happening in a balanced manner in all the regions of the country. Bangalore is not the single destination for improvement, or Mangalore is not the only place for improvement. There are a number of places, the peri-urban and the rural areas, which absolutely need a lot of support mechanism. It could be in terms of faculty updation, in terms of providing resources to the children. We have a number of aspects which have to be improved on a continuous basis so that we can make our students employable and acceptable in the industry. You will again be surprised to know this fact. India ranks number 72 among 132 countries in the Global Talent Competitive Index. This is the 2020 report. And basically, this index measures the country's current ability to grow and attract the talent. And look at the ranking, it's 72. Again, it's an indication that we have to strengthen the youth of the country. We are having a demographic dividend. The entire world suffers from demographic disaster. This is an opportunity for us to explore. Now the question is, with all this landscape that we are noticing, do we have sufficient time to bring in this change, to transform our system, to develop ourselves? We do not have much time. We should all buck up. We have to increase our speed. Why? The future has started loading already. We have already reached the revolutionary stage of fourth stage, where you never know, wink of an eye, you might be there at the next revolution as well. Now, when we try to know, but how do we manage this? How do we manage this balance? How do we try to achieve this revolutionary changes which are happening across us? Now, when you have this question of how do we do it, how do we achieve it, it's time and a message for all of us here that we have to start reimagining ourselves. When I say ourselves, I'm talking about the various stakeholders who are a part of this higher education ecosystem. It's not just you and me. It is about the management. It's about the head of institutions. It's about the directors who head the organization. It's about the management members who are basically in charge of governance, leadership, and funding, who are very important stakeholders. You have the industry, as well as you have the interaction with the government and the community. And of course, you have other people such as the parents, you have the local community people who are very important stakeholders in an institution. Now, collectively, it's our responsibility I would like to say this collective responsibility comes when we have to achieve or bring in this change and transformation as early as possible. We cannot be in the comfort zone anymore. We cannot be complacent with the existing systems anymore. We have to change. Now, how do we do that? Time to rethink, time to reinvent, reimagine, realign ourselves, return to what has happened in the past, what is currently happening, and try to recreate the future and a better tomorrow. And mind you, all of us are living not just in a VUCA world today. All of us know the VUCA world talks about volatility, uncertainty, complexity, and ambiguity. Now, the new normal, the current scenario has brought in two more elements to the VUCA world. We call that as the DVUCAD. And that is nothing but the two Ds which you see in a VUCA in the beginning and the end. The first D stands for disruption, and the last D along with the VUCA stands for diversity. It means we have no choice. We have to start thinking disruptively. When I say disruptively, not in the literal sense, but in a business sense. It means our education models have to change. The concept of service has to change. The way we look at learning has to transform. It is more of student experience, student centricity. And the student centricity and student experience can be brought in. You can achieve all the changes only when the important warrior is prepared. And that warrior is you and me who have to start the preparation now. And this new normal has made all of us warriors on the foot, trying to bring in changes, becoming very agile, and accepting the new systems that are happening across us. Now, when you look at all these changes which are happening, now the answer, where do we begin? I don't think we have to be scared. One step has already started. I consider the first step, the beginning would be with the national education policy. Such education policies have not been new to our country. Way back in 1968, in 82, 96. So you see a lot of changes that have been coming across. But here, we are purely focusing on the current scenario. We are trying to understand what does this national education policy of 2020 have in place to offer it to us. As educators, we all have a very macro and a micro role to be played. At the institutional level, we are playing a micro role. At the macro level, all of us are contributing not just to the country's development, not contributing to the global economy, but mind you, we are all supporting the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. And the major goal that all of us, you and me, are contributing will be quality education. That is goal number 4. And on the screen, you see the targets that are set in by the United Nations for this goal number 4. It ranges from everything from equal access to equity to equality to increasing the gross enrollment ratio to bringing in children from all the levels of education, trying to bring them to the mainstream, to reduce discrimination education, and so on. So we have a very huge responsibility on our shoulders as mentors, as coaches, as facilitators. Here we have to be very glad that we are a part of this wonderful beginning where we can contribute not just domestically, but globally, we are able to contribute in achieving the sustainable development goals given by the United Nations. And in 2015 itself, the Indian government adopted this sustainable development goals, And we have the Sustainable Development Center in every state which has been set up. Now, all of us are contributors, not just to our economy, but to the global growth and development in the space of global education. We have to be very glad that we have this opportunity in contributing to this wonderful goal. Now, how do we start with this? Everybody is talking about the NEP 2020, about its implications. Somebody is happy with it, somebody is unhappy with it. So we have different points of view which are flowing in from across the entire country. Now, as I always believe that I don't want to focus on the negative aspect of it. Let us try to take the maximum of good developments and contribution that can come through this policy. So comments and criticism has never helped any of us grow. So now what exactly is this national education policy all about? And from where do we begin here? Now, any change in an institution, in an organization, or in the country for that matter, it always expects some kind of a preparedness. And this preparedness does not happen overnight. Definitely, there will be infrastructural challenges, there will be intellectual resources gap, there is going to be a lot of chaos and confusion that is going to get created. Irrespective of all those problems and confusions, you and me as teachers have faced so many crises in life. We have managed classes without LCD projectors. We have taught classes without OHP projectors. We have taught 120, 130 student-based classes without even a microphone. We are a different breed altogether. All of us sitting here and listening, I'm sure we are the best crisis managers on earth. We are the warriors of higher education system. We have managed with things, without things, no washrooms, having washrooms, old curriculum, new curriculum. You bring in anything, we have been able to manage. And I'm sure the national education policy is also not a big challenge for us. We will sail through it. We will be able to bring out the best out of it. But now the question is, are we prepared for it? Now, how do we measure this preparedness quotient? In a higher education ecosystem, we have certain basic aspects. I consider them as the 5 very important elements of any higher education ecosystem, starting from curricula and pedagogy to faculty to research to partnerships and collaborations, and finally the infrastructure. And when I use the word infrastructure, it covers your knowledge, financial, and other infrastructure resources. Of course, this entire thing, your strategy and capabilities will be of some use only when you have the foundation, which has to be extremely strong. There comes the funding, where our managements and the government play a very important role. Then comes the governance and leadership. The minute we use governance, the minute we say leadership, people generally assume we are talking about the principal or the director. Definitely no. Every teacher is a leader. That is teacher leadership. You are the leader of your class. You are the owner of your class. So every teacher is a leader. Every child who comes to your institution is a leader. Head of the department is a leader. The head of the institution is also a leader. So when each and every one of us can own the responsibility, understand our accountability, and keep in mind that we have no choice but to enhance our capacity and capabilities, I'm sure this higher education foundation would be extremely brilliant, and achieving anything with this kind of a preparedness quotient would definitely be a cakewalk for all of us. Now, in this entire preparedness quotient, now, what is it that we will have to focus from the NEP perspective? Now, this is something which the National Education Policy 2020 gives an overall view. All the levels of education, to technology, to pedagogy, to multiple entry, exit systems. They talk about cost of education, creating employment opportunities, increasing the gross enrollment ratio to about, in 2030, they want it to be about 50%, which is just 26% currently. So they want to achieve it to about 50% by 2030. It can be about influence of Indian higher educations, the brain drain problem, the power of internationalization and globalization, the concept of alumni engagement, having diversity, equity, inclusion, trying to go back to our roots, touching base on the Indian ethos, bringing in the concept of lifelong learning. So it is huge work which has gone into the National Education Policy 2020. And this is a quick whip, and this is how we can create a sync or the interventions that you need to achieve Education 4.0, and NEP 2020 is going to be the intervention. So Education 4.0 has already arrived. Now, how do we begin? What is the solution? The solution comes through the National Education Policy. And through these various interventions, we should be able to manage Education 4.0. And in case there's an Education 5.0, which comes in tomorrow, we should definitely be able to accept. Now, my topic for the day, with this prelude, the focus is purely on the internationalization of education in the National Education Policy. Though there are just about few points mentioned in the policy document per se, you will notice that it is not as easy as it is read, because the legislative framework that comes along with this implementation is going to be a really mammoth task. But at the outset, when we talk about internationalization of education, where you try to cross your geographical and political boundaries, it's as good as opening up the economy with LPG. So when we start internationalizing, what is it the National Education Policy say in the policy document with regard to internationalization? The first and foremost concept is really beautiful. Going back to the times of Nalanda, Takshashila, that is how the policy document starts talking about. It means we want to revive the legacy of our country. And they say, the government says, you and me have to start working towards making India a global study destination. As we already saw, the number of international students for the capacity that we have is very, very negligible numbers. Now, the policy says we need to give premium education to our international students. It doesn't mean not to our domestic students, but to all the student fraternity at an affordable cost. Our healthcare, for instance, why do we see an upsurge in medical tourism? It's basically because of premium treatments happening at affordable cost in various hospitals in India. Now, the same model is very much applicable even to education system. We need to promote our country as a global destination. When is it possible? Only when we have premium education being offered at affordable cost. And this next point is a wonderful aspect that the policy talks about. India, with its rich culture and heritage, was considered for thousands of years as Vishwaguru. The kind of rich heritage that we have, the rich texts and knowledge in terms of philosophy to theology, to medicine, to Ayurveda, to yoga, to Indology, to Indic studies, we have a rich heritage which we bring with us from thousands of years. So now it is time that we become the Vishwaguru, where we kind of create a way of not just the domain skills, but also preparing good humans to the society. And the policy goes further and says, in the future, that is after the implementation of policy, higher education institutions will be given an opportunity to attract foreign students. Of course, though India already has this program called Study in India scheme, which was started by the government of India, wherein that's a platform to attract foreign students to educational institutions. Now it says, the policy document says, we will have an international student office in every higher education institution, so that there will be a dedicated office to welcome, take care of the international students, make their stay very comfortable, and connect with them and see to it that they have a comfortable learning journey in the institution. Further, the policy also highlights on something very, very important. That is the teaching and the research collaborations. Now, it speaks about giving opportunities to students as well as the faculty to have some exchange programs. Of course, there are many educational institutions. In fact, I have been running a lot of exchange programs like this for my students over the last about 10 to 12 years. Now, there is ample opportunity for the students as well as the faculty to travel abroad and gain some experience, learn certain skills and come back. Vice versa can also happen. We can invite students from foreign universities to come and stay with us. We can invite foreign faculty to come here and stay with us. It could be for a research activity, or it can be a teaching assignment as well. And there is another scope that has been covered in this policy, which talks about signing up of memorandum of understanding with foreign universities for the benefit of the higher education institutions. Now, you might have a question, okay, who is going to be permitted? See, to sign a memorandum of understanding, you might be a tier 1, tier 2, or a tier 3 institution, irrespective of your location, you have the freedom to do it even now. But there is a very nice point added in the policy, which talks about high-performing Indian universities will be permitted to set up campuses globally. That is, we are going a step ahead from just signing MOUs. So you have a professor in the University of Texas, and he or she gives you an international webinar. Or you sign an MOU and you send about 10 children to Boston University, or you send them to Sri Lanka, or you might send them to Australia. You may send them to La Trobe University. Now here, the government has tried to think a step ahead, not just signing MOUs, not just having this collaboration, but let's move ahead by identifying these high-performing Indian universities, and they will be permitted to set up campuses globally. That's a wonderful move. And again, vice versa can also happen. Selected foreign universities will also be given an opportunity to set up their branches in India. They will be called as FBCs, foreign branch campuses. And they have also given an example. When we say the selected foreign universities or high-performing universities, what do you mean by them? It means you have to be in the top ranking of top 100 so that there's no dilution of quality that happens. Further, the policy also talks about, of course, you have all these arrangements and collaboration and student exchange programs, so on and so forth, that you might opt for. But who is going to monitor all this? Is there some body which is going to keep an eye on me? Is there some evaluating body? So the government is going to come up with a legislative framework to monitor and facilitate the entry and functioning of these institutions. Of course, they will be given a lot of support, but there will definitely be regulatory institutions or bodies. There will be certain specific governance that will be brought in. There will be a governance mechanism which will be brought through. The way our autonomous institutions are working with freedom in designing of curriculum in terms of evaluation, but still there is a monitoring body. but still there is a regulatory body which keeps working. So the same concept is going to be applicable even to this model of having these foreign branch campuses as well as sending our universities abroad. And one of the best moves that I consider in the space of internationalization is about having this academic credit banks. Okay, so you will have this academic bank credits wherein you will have credits transferred from one university to another university. Of course, there is this option being created at the domestic level also. Even at the internationalization space, the same concept has been considered where the degrees issued by these universities will be considered and the credits can be transferred in the time of either it could be an undergrad program or a grad program or a doctoral program. I think we will be able to decipher on the entire mechanism once the implementation follows through. But these are the wonderful changes that we can notice that is happening across in the national education policy in terms of internationalization. Now, all of you might have a question. Why these international branch campuses? What is going to happen? Will we have any benefit, or are we just giving away our resources? Are we losing our identity? What will happen to us? It is just like inviting an MNC to a country. We always have benefits to the home country. We always have some demerits to the home country. The same thing applies for the host country as well. The same concept is applicable even with higher education. Now, as an institution in India, I will definitely be able to bring in this international relationships. We will be able to bring that intellectual talent and capabilities to our country. It will definitely increase a lot of revenues. It will bring in a lot of funding to the nation, to the institutions. What will happen to the host nations? Will they have a gain out of this? Now, you can consider it either way, either as a home country or a host country, we will definitely have certain benefits. Now, for example, everybody in the Indian higher education space has been talking about the brain drain. They say our scientists, our best doctors, our best engineers are not with us anymore. They are in California, they are in New York, they are in Paris. But why? That's a problem of the brain drain. You want these people to be at home. You want them to be with us. This is one of the ways where you can stop the brain drain. Definitely, it is going to be a game changer. Transfer of technology, research and development, financial viability happens just like that in no moment with this concept of internationalization. Now, this is just for your understanding that there is a selfish motto that we will be able to enhance the skills of our faculty as well as our students who are going to enter the industry tomorrow. Unless me as a faculty, if I am not updated, if I do not understand what skills are required, I don't think I will be able to share the same with my students. So there's a lot of good things that this internationalization of education would bring through. It could be in terms of self-awareness, to mindfulness, to integrity, to commitment, to problem solving and critical thinking, innovativeness, networking, to leadership. You see a gamut of skills that all of us can acquire and help our students also acquire these skills. Now, I'm moving to more or less the last part of my presentation. Now, of course, we have looked into what is the current landscape of Indian higher education. We've tried to understand where are we right now. We looked into the revolution happening in the space of industry and education and society. Then we moved on to understanding what is NEP 2020 bringing is in the space of internationalization of higher education. What does the policy document say? Now, all of us have one question. Okay, document says so many things. How do we implement it? You might say, I am working for an institution in the remote village of North Karnataka. Madam, how do I do that? How do I bring in? I completely understand the technical glitches. I respect the challenges that all our teachers and students face across, not just our state, but across the entire nation. Somewhere we have to make a beginning. Now, how do we bring in this implementation of internationalization? Let's not look at, setting up an international branch right now. Let us think what efforts can be made at the outset. First primary step is to have a global mindset. Only when you develop this mindset, if you keep thinking on those lines and working towards it, you will develop something called as global intelligence. Only when you develop this global intelligence, you can become a global citizen. If we want our children to become global citizens, they have to have this kind of a global intelligence. And if they should work with the global mindset, you and me as teachers should first develop this kind of an ability. The question is, how do we do it and where do we begin? And this entire journey that I have divided into 3 levels comes through my experience of running the Center for Global Excellence, wherein I interact with foreign universities across the globe, from UK to USA to Poland to Malaysia and other countries. And I've also been arranging a lot of youth exchange programs for my students and sending some young faculty along with these children to have that exposure. Now, in this entire process, I have divided this journey into 3 steps. First, let's start with some baby steps. We need to understand the background of our students. I call that as a student demographic. Are we from an urban area, a peri-urban area, or from a rural area? So you bring in some Scottish person and you take them to a Kannada medium child, the child will not be able to understand. So there starts the preparation with our demographics. Are our students capable of communicating, understanding the business language? Please don't read me wrong. I am not anti-Kannada. So it's not that I am favoring a language. What I'm trying to say is, in terms of employability, the business language of the entire world is English. So if these children can pick up their communicate English, they will be able to make a first step, a beginning towards this global citizenship. So understand the student demographics. The second thing is, don't say, Madam, I don't know anybody in any foreign universities, nor they will not accept. I am in a government college, I am in an autonomous college, or I am in this kind of a university. There is always an opportunity. You need not have a memorandum of understanding. Look for an institution who already have some MOU. So approach these institutions and request them for having a collaboration. So collaborate with these institutions which already have MOU. Make a request. Please keep one thing in mind. I have always personally believed this. There is nothing like competition between your institution and my institution. Ultimately, you and me are working for the benefit of children. And children are the same everywhere. It could be your children in your college or my children in my college. There is absolutely no difference among these children. I've personally never believed in the concept of competition. All of us have to grow. When the nation will grow, only when all of us can grow, all of our students can grow, all of our institutions can grow together, only then the country has an opportunity to grow. We cannot live in silos. We cannot say, I want to be the best in the market. You have other ways. You can have other aspects of trying to become the best. But there are certain resources, there are certain platforms that can be shared. which can be used for the benefit of multiple students and teachers. Please approach those institutions. Start with simple programs. Let's not be unrealistic. Let's start with simple programs, invited sessions, a webinar. Try to participate. That is the first baby step that you will take in. The minute you move to the toddler stage, right? So when you have a taste of how this internationalization looks like, the next step is to start networking with foreign faculty and institutions. Make use of different platforms. We have social media networking, which is very, very strong in bringing in networking and connections. Slowly start networking with institutions abroad. The next step, if you want to build long-lasting relationships, if you want to collaborate with any institution abroad, we have to keep in mind that there is a huge gap between the expectations of the foreign institutions and what we are currently. We generally say, oh, they don't give us an opportunity. You think, can we do research with them? Definitely yes, why not? We are unable to do it because our faculty feel I cannot teach a foreign university student because we have not adopted to the latest pedagogy. We have not adopted to the latest technological upgradations. We are not exposed to the new subjects which are being introduced globally. If you want to have a research collaboration, there is a need that you have to maintain the global standards of understanding statistical tools. Only if you know that, only if you are aware of the standard research methodology, you will definitely be able to work with foreign universities for research collaborations as well. So start mapping the gap. It could be in terms of skill or technology or subject or pedagogy. What is the gap? Start creating and designing a plan for improvement. Upskill yourself to global standards. When I say upskill, not just you start off and you help the children also to start off. As I said, it's a collective responsibility. Until and unless my management realizes it, my head of the institution realizes it, it is very difficult to drop it down to the faculty. I completely understand. If your head of the institution or your management is unaware of it, you go to them with a proposal. Maximum, the answer could be a yes or a no. Don't stop yourself. Go ahead. Make efforts in upskilling to the global standards. Start learning those skills. Apply the best practices of this university. Start with small things in your one classroom. Expand it to your department. Expand it to the institution. Bring in the role of the internal quality assurance cell in having these best practices implemented. That will be the toddler stage. Then comes the last stage, wherein you become a pro. You have to start thinking beyond now. What would you do? Collaborate with foreign universities. Sign MOUs with them. Go in for teaching collaboration. You teach in their university, their faculty come and teach in your institution. Send your students on exchange programs. Do collaborative research. So you do a comparison between India and Bangladesh, India and Sri Lanka, India and UK. So you can do a comparative study. You can send your faculty abroad for different types of programs. It can be a skilling program. It can be to understand the best practices, to bring in infrastructure improvement and so on. Invite them to your institution. You might say, madam, we don't have money. Who will host them? There are institutions which would have hosted them. FICCI for that matter. FICCI takes the responsibility of hosting a lot of foreign university delegates. Take the help of professional and industrial bodies who can help you connect with these people. Now, when they come to some ex-college, you have a friend in that college. Request and keep your friend informed that when you have a foreign speaker on your campus, please inform me so that I can also bring my students. So this will help you build, because I understand the limitations that the government colleges will have. As a teacher belonging to a private college, I can tell you that we will definitely handhold you and support you. Maybe not 100%, but at least in certain steps, definitely we will be able to support. So invite them to your institutions. I think with these 3 stages of implementation, as a higher education institution, you should be able to bring in this concept of internationalization very successfully within a short period of time. I can put it as about 2 years, maybe a target where you should be able to make some achievements. And this is just for your understanding. I'm not sure. Every institution is behind measurements and rankings and accreditations. Now, the minute you start internationalizing, it's not easy because there is somebody or the other who's monitoring on you. So this is, I have taken from the UNESCO database of last year. A wonderful study has been done in trying to understand what are the indicators for measuring the university internationalization. What are the parameters? If you could see, it is beautifully done with the dimensions, elements, and indicators. And the dimensions are very clear, which all of us are working on it, starting from research to student engagement to faculty development, curricular, engagement levels, and governance and leadership. So if any of you are interested, you can definitely read this beautiful report, which is accessible on the UNESCO website. All right, so time up. So I planned for about 50 minutes, and here we go. I would like to leave all of you with this simple message behind. We have all been working towards the improvement of higher education. Ultimately, our goal as teachers in this profession, this is what I personally feel, our job is to make humans really human. There is a strong need to bring in this connectedness. We have to make our students learn how to live together. When I say how to live together, it's not just about diversity, but also about having inclusivity, respect for others, respecting themselves, and not to consider as just an individual representing an institution or a state or a country, but we have to keep in mind the Indian ethos and culture, which has taught us over thousands of years. This is what is running in our DNA. We know it consciously or we don't know about it, but one thing is for sure, that this is the essence of all of us. You and me, our people who are living around us, our children in colleges, all of us are having this concept within us. We have to just reinvent, reorient them towards this. So I would personally suggest that we should all make our learners, our students, build the concept of universal citizenship behavior, which in Sanskrit is called as bhavaikyata, wherein nobody else can bring in this concept except the teacher. Even parents find it very difficult to bring in this concept because children believe us. Children trust their teachers. And we are not just preparing them for a corporate life. We are not preparing them just for their livelihood, but we are preparing them for life. And when we are preparing them for life, I think all of us should make effort and make them real humans, make them to learn to live together, and bring in this concept of universal citizenship behavior so that the entire community, the entire world will be a beautiful place to live, to whom we owe a lot and wherein we are responsible and accountable. So this is what I wanted to share with all of you this morning. Thank you so much for your patient hearing and for your precious time and sharing it with me. Thank you so much. Now I would like to leave the floor open for questions and answers. Thank you very much.
I'm audible now?
No, yeah, now you're audible.
Yeah, you're audible
Yeah,
now.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
please start.
Yeah, I was telling you about, it was really a beautiful, wonderful session. It's a brainstorming session. So you enlighten us about how to find out our balance between digital convergence, education technology, and as a society and human connections. And you told us that, as we know that we have various challenges in education sector, still we are, India is the second largest education sector throughout the world. We are a best providers. We have a human dividend. We have young generation. That is a plus point. And you told that growth and development is just not a single, it's a continuous journey. It's wonderful point, ma'am. Really, we love that point. So we shouldn't stop anywhere. Just keep on moving. Even a single step makes a lot of difference. And you told us about governance, then funding agencies regarding research, then exchange programs, how we have to exchange. And it is really beautiful thing. One thing I would like to mention here is the beautiful point is in internationalization and globalization. They seem same words, but they are different really. So as internationalization of higher education is policies, practices, which are undertaken by academic system and institutions. At the same time, globalization is growing interdependence of world's economics, culture, populations, and brought about by the cross-border trade in goods and services, technology, people, and information. What a beautiful thing. So they look same, but they're not same. So I really sure that I'm really hoping that today all participants, they enjoyed a lot. So as globalization and internalization is one aspect in the new national education policy 2020. So we are just going step by step, understanding, analyzing, imbibing the ethos of NEP 2020. A really beautiful session, ma'am. There are various things I would like to mention. So much of things we learned today, how research and teaching collaboration should be, how high performing Indian universities should go outside, why we have to go, how to become Vishwa Guru in education system. And the last slide is awesome, ma'am. You showed that how human connections as the plants, you think that plants grows like that only without the connection of the roots. It is the root first to get associated with, then the tree grows itself in an ultimate way. So now we would like to have a question and answer session, ma'am. Let us see the questions by our audience or participants. First question is by Vidya Ratna Das. This says that promotion of open education system, they agree. I'm telling this, while offering the job, they prefer regular stream students. Why so? Have any clarification?
Yeah. So what I personally feel is there is never dearth for jobs around us. The problem starts with a bad career mapping of our children. First of all, children should be given, when you talk about employability, right? First and foremost, children should be given an opportunity to understand in which stream they would be successful. You can use a simple personality test like MBTI or a Holland inventory, which is freely accessible. Do a personality test for your students. Help them identify their career areas. And we have to start moving away from the conventional finance, accounting, taxation, auditing jobs. It is time we have to start looking at new areas. There's e-commerce, there's logistics, supply chain management, business analytics, predictive analytics, pharma, hospital management, aviation. There are a gamut of new opportunities which are coming up. Map them. Help these children realize that the entire world has opened up on a different game altogether. Prepare them for that.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm telling you, there will be no employability problem. I hope I have answered your question, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am. Then Anirudh asks, can we think globalization of education multifold the employment opportunities for the faculties?
Definitely, sir. Definitely. That's
Yeah.
why I said there is always a skill gap. We always think, oh, foreign madam, namman serskotara. This is a general belief. And mind you, nobody has created this belief. This Lakshman Rekha is drawn by you and me. They have never
Yes.
said, don't come to us.
Yes, ma'am. There's a mindset what made us like this.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
I agree
So
with you, ma'am.
you start focusing. You want to teach in a foreign university? Very easy. Start mapping the skill sets that you need to teach in a foreign university. You should learn how to work on an LMS, first of all, a learning management system, maybe a Blackboard or a Moodle. Then
Yes, ma'am.
how can you make your sessions more interactive? How do you make your pedagogy more experiential? How do you bring in critical thinking to your classroom? How there is questioning, how there is thoughtfulness that is brought into your class. You can definitely get an opportunity in abroad university. You want to do research? Forget about only standard deviation, regression, and correlation. Go ahead with structural equation modeling. Try to move beyond the conventional research of just measuring impact and influence and relationship. Bring in mediating factors, bring in moderating factors, learn the global standards of research. There will be people who would love to collaborate with you. So the world and life is very simple. It's we who make it very complicated. Definitely, please go ahead.
Very nice answer, ma'am. Another person, Anisa Fatim, is asking, ma'am, can you explain me global advantages of globalization?
Ma'am, I already said.
Told. Yes.
Yes, I already mentioned.
Open up the new era to you all. If you accept it, it is really a magical wand in your hand.
Yes.
That is the thing, ma'am. And Mohan, yes, is asking, does NEP reduce unemployment of our country? If yes, how?
Sir, with NEP, without NEP, we can always reduce unemployment. There is unemployment because of the skilling problem. That's the reason why the government came up with NSDC. The Skills Council was brought in. Why do we have a Logistics Skill Council now? So most of the time, that's why, in the opening slide, I showed the eternal struggle of from books to the examination hall. Unfortunately, maybe with all the due respect, to our accreditation system, with all the due respect to our universities and the curriculum, so we are all the time more concerned about finishing syllabus, doing preparatory, getting ranks for college, thinking about NAT, where do we get points, where do we lose points. But in this entire race, we are forgetting the important stakeholder, that is the student. We are not thinking, are we making him prepared to face the world tomorrow? Is he prepared to take up a job in shipping management? Our students don't even know that there is something called shipping management. Our students don't even know there can be something in operations management. So that's the reason we do not explore. Everybody wants a job only in KPMG, Deloitte, or Fidelity. Financial analyst to process associate. There's nothing beyond. That's why there's an employability problem. Make them skilled. Improve their communication. Our children are too good in their subject. They can solve problems in the books, but they cannot communicate with the industry. They don't understand what is happening around them. So improve their communication. So I would say the mantra is communication, communication, communication. That's the first thing. The second important thing is skill, upskill, reskill. That is the answer.
Yes, Dr. Annapurna,
yes, ma'am.
Participants want to get unmuted and they want to raise the hand and they would like to ask a question.
Ma'am, there are, I'm just so telling you about the same thing. There are so many questions, ma'am. Everybody want to ask a question. We are picking up some of the questions and we are just taking.
Some of them have told
there are 150 odd messages coming out.
You can unmute some of them and ask them to question directly. They will.
Yes, few raised hands are there. Let us give the chance. Vinod sir or Chiranjeevi sir, may I ask you to just unmute the people? Sangeeta is there, Ketan, Veera is there. They have raised their hands.
One by one in order. Just few of them. and so that they can have a personal connect with the speaker. That's what probably.
Before that, I'll just read one question which is put at 12 o'clock itself. That is from Dr. Janardhan Shetty. NEP talks about bringing up systematic changes in our education system. However, most of our education institutions are run by private players. Do you think these players cooperate with the government to bring in changes as per NEP wish list? Ma'am, what your opinion, ma'am?
Well, I'm glad that Dr. Janardhan is here. He's a very good friend of mine.
Okay.
So, Doctor, I personally feel I don't think institutions will have a choice.
Yeah.
And especially for private managements, it's like a race. I think private managements have already started feeling the pinch of it because of the private universities and the deemed to be universities which have come in. So it's kind of an interplay. So now itself, I see a lot of institutions facing problem with their admissions, again, because of the quality. So it's very simple. When the government implements it, it does not give you a choice. You buck up, you sustain your education system in the market, or you're out of business.
Vinod sir, can you unmute Dr. Vittal Poddar sir? Vinod sir or Chiranjeevi sir? Vittal Poddar sir has raised his hand. Can you please
okay, ma'am.
Unmute him?
Okay.
Then I can ask a question which is enlisted here.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, sir, please. Poddar sir, please. Vinod sir or Chiranjeevi sir? Poddar sir raised his hand. Can you please?
Bhargavi, madam.
Yes, sir.
Thank you very much for your wonderful presentation. When you talk of globalization, I feel two challenges are very important. One is brand image and global standards. Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir,
please go ahead.
One is a brand image and another one is global standards. How one should address these two important issues when you talk of globalization of Indian higher education? That is my question.
Thank you, Vittal sir. That's a good question. Now, when we talk about understanding these benchmarks or standards, so how do we get to know these standards? So I think there are a number of agencies, for example, the Coker-Kelly-Simons university rankings, the QS rankings, the Times higher education rankings. Globally, there are a number of bodies which come up with their university ranking reports. And you can also see the strategic plan reports which are uploaded by these universities. I think a quick read of these documents will give us an insight of understanding what is happening across the globe. Because every institution, every faculty might not get a chance to travel abroad. But sitting in your place, thanks to information technology, quick click of a button, you get all these reports. So the way we do a mapping for our NAC AQAR document and SSR preparation, use the same concept here. Keep these various ranking reports, identify the best practices, pick and choose what is suitable and feasible for your institution. I think that's how the challenge can be managed. I hope I have answered your question, sir.
Yes, sir. I think sir has got his answer. Can you unmute Anirudh Rao?
Yes, madam. Am I audible, madam?
Yeah, you're audible, sir.
Yes.
Yes, madam. Very good afternoon. And in fact, it was a very inspiring session, and I myself would like to, come in contact and collaborate with you, madam.
Definitely.
To be actually. Yeah, I completed my MA in English in 2019. So I'm very much unaware about I'm very much new to the academic system. So the thing is that, see, my question is that, or rather you can take it as my opinion, See, first, if you ask me whether the policy should be implemented first or whether infrastructure should be created first, I would go with the infrastructure that has to be created first. So we are thinking about the internationalization and globalization of our education system. But madam, don't you think that, yes, I undoubtedly, I do not doubt about the Indian brains or the ability of our faculty or the professors. But don't you think that there is a huge gap within us when it comes to the infrastructure? For example, now itself, if I tell my own condition right now, I do not have the network at home, and I am traveling daily at this lockdown to others' home to get the network and to attend this FDP, to be honest.
Very sweet of you, sir. You did this effort to really enhance your knowledge. Bhargavi, ma'am?
Yes, Mr. Honorable.
He's asking about policy first or infrastructure first?
Yeah.
Your opinion, ma'am.
I think if COVID would not have happened, none of us would have met like this.
True.
So it means only when things become very imperative that we act. So the same thing applies even to the policy. When the sword is on our neck, infrastructure automatically improves. If you wait for infrastructure improvement, all of us would have retired by then, and still there will be a new NEP policy which will come in 2050. Somewhere we have to make a beginning. Yes, I agree. We have network infrastructure problems. We do not have devices. So, but look at the kind of response that has happened. You can see tabs being distributed on public TV to the government school children. My help who comes home, her daughter studies her 8th standard on a tab at home. Now, it was something unimaginable for an Indian student in a corporation BBMP high school to study on a tab. It happened because COVID happened. There was an imperative. The sword was on our neck. So Mr. Suresh Kumar didn't have any choice but to bring this online learning. WhatsApp, people would say children are all the time on the mobile phones. But today we are thankful to WhatsApp. We communicate with all the class children only through WhatsApp platform. Sir, unless there is a sword on the neck, we will not act. And I don't know why. Maybe that is again the basic feature of all Indians. On a lighter note, right? That happens.
True, ma'am. When things come to your neck,
Good morning, ma'am.
Who is this? Sangeeta is on.
I am Sangeeta
Venkatesan
from Kanchipuram.
Yes, Sangeeta, please go on.
I have a big doubt, ma'am. I am speak to Tamil.
சொல்லுங்க பரவாயில்லை எனக்கு தமிழ் புரியுது.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. எனக்கு என்ன டவுட்னா குளோபலைஸ் சொல்றீங்க. உலகத்துல படிச்சவங்களும் இருக்காங்க, படிக்காதவங்களும் இருக்காங்க. ஆனா படிச்சவங்களுக்கு நிறைய இம்பார்ட்டன்ஸ் கொடுக்கறாங்க, படிக்காதவங்களுக்கு இம்பார்ட்டன்ஸ் கொடுக்கறது இல்ல, உதறி தள்ளுறாங்க. ஆனா படிக்காத பசங்க பாத்தீங்கன்னா நிறைய கண்டுபிடிப்புகள் கண்டுபிடிச்சிட்டு அதால உலகத்துல எவ்வளவோ சாதிச்சிருக்காங்க. ஃபார் எக்ஸாம்பிள், எதனா ஒரு மிஷின் கண்டுபிடிச்சாலும் அதால நிறைய வழிகள் நடந்துட்டு இருக்கு. ஏன் அவங்கள ஒதுக்கணும்? அவங்களுக்கும் ஃபர்ஸ்ட் ப்ரிஃபரன்ஸ் கொடுக்கலாம் இல்லையா? இவன் படிச்சவன்றதால இவனுக்கு ப்ரிஃபரன்ஸ் கொடுத்துட்டு அவன் ஒரு மாதிரி கீழ்த்தரமா ஏன் பார்க்கணும்? ஏன் இப்படி வந்து ஒதுக்கி வைக்கிறாங்க?
சரிம்மா, இப்போ நான் ஆன்சர் இங்கிலீஷ்ல சொல்றத பரவாயில்லையா?
ஓகே மேம்.
ஓகேயா? ஓகே. So Miss Sangeeta has a question.
Bhargavi ma'am.
Yes.
Ma'am, we do not understand Tamil also.
No, I will translate the question.
She's telling the question.
Yes, even question also, ma'am.
Yes,
I will translate the question and I will give the answer in English.
Yeah.
So Sangeeta ma'am has a doubt that, there is a huge divide between the literates and the illiterates. So people who are educated and uneducated. So she says there's more preference given to the educated class and there is absolutely no importance given to the uneducated. That's the reason why the concept of adult literacy has been brought in. Though adult literacy is not a new concept to India, it has been there over ages. But there is more importance given in the NEP 2020 about adult literacy. That is one aspect. But when I say it could be this way, when you say importance given to educated people, it is because of the media hype that gets created. It is just that they do not have a branding. But there is always scope wherein the educated class can always give a helping hand, do some hand holding to this so-called uneducated. So, because it's very difficult to define educated and uneducated, right? So it is not a research definition, but it is about how you manage your life at the end of the day really defines you are educated or you are uneducated. But the educated class can always give a hand holding to the so-called uneducated so that they are being helped in terms of branding or in coming to the mainstream. And that is the purpose of having inclusivity. That is what the entire world, the entire nation is talking about, DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion. So I don't think that divide will continue for a long time. And adult literacy is going to bring in one more change. And people who have stopped their education in between, they will also have further scope through the concept of lifelong learning. It means you have to be a learner all throughout life. It means you can come back to your continuing of education at any point in time. So, ma'am, I think that divide will come down, madam. Definitely, Sangeeta, ma'am.
Ma'am, only one doubt. Please help me. இப்ப படிச்சுட்டு ஃபாரினுக்கு வேலைக்கு போறாங்க இல்லையா?
ஆமா.
அவங்க நம்ம நாட்டிலேயே வேலை செய்யலாம் இல்லையா? அவங்க போறவங்களுக்கு நீங்க என்ன சொல்ல விரும்புறீங்க? நீங்க இங்கேயே படிச்சுட்டு ஏன் வெளிநாட்டுக்கு போகணும்? நம்ம நாட்டிலேயே அவங்க இது பண்ணலாம், ஒர்க் பண்ணலாம் இல்லையா? நம்ம நாட்டுக்கு நல்லது செய்யலாம் இல்லையா? அப்படி போறவங்களுக்கு நீங்க என்ன சொல்ல விரும்புறீங்க மேம்?
Absolutely. Ms. Sangeeta is talking about the brain drain, which I have already answered in the slide, that one of the advantages of internationalization, very simple. Premium education at low cost is the mantra of internationalization of education through NEP, right? So for example, if you want an undergrad degree in the United States, you easily need about $100,000. In India, you can get it done between 8,000 rupees to 50,000 rupees. Look at the gap.
Yes.
Now, if you want to travel abroad, you want to go and pursue your MBA or MS in the United States, minimum you need about 60 to 70 lakhs. Now, once you can reduce that pricing, you create opportunities in your own country, definitely there will be no brain drain. Nobody will leave your country. You can retain that intellectual talent in your own country.
Yeah. To add up to ma'am's point that we shouldn't have a dignity of labor until unless if that shouldn't work. Ma'am, I have a request to all the participants that please keep your questions crisp and precise, as so many of them have raised their hands. 100 of messages are there. Ketan Veera sir has in a long list. Ketan, can you unmute yourself and ask the question? Just I'm asking the people who are raised their hands and just taking their name.
Yeah,
unmute
good afternoon,
and just,
ma'am.
Yeah, very good afternoon. Please, question.
I'll come directly to my question. It was an excellent session.
Yeah.
Ma'am, we are talking about quality of education and we are comparing it with world across where the education has reached a pinnacle. But if you look at the students teachers ratio in India, and if you compare it with the rest of the world, it's a first question. Second, when we are talking about reaching 50% gross enrollment rate by 2030, will ratio improve or it will become adverse is another question. So how to handle these issues at the macro level, ma'am?
So the first thing is our population, sir. We have a huge population. We have no choice but to cover these people. The second thing is, you spoke about the teacher-student ratio. So that is because we need to increase the number of people who are interested in the profession of teaching. They tell me, I'm being very realistic. No hard feelings anywhere, no disrespect to any management. Sir, by earning 25,000 rupees salary with 600 or 500 rupees increment every year, with not a big amount of increment every year, no bonus, no rewards, no recognition. Sir, how can an individual survive in this kind of cost of living in the country, sir? So again, government has to take some steps in at least protecting the salary of the faculty, where it has to look at least lucrative, where I can have a comfortable life. If you earn 25,000, 26,000 rupees for about 6 years, How can you lead life? You have to wait for your promotion for the next 25 years. Either your HOD has to retire or something else has to happen to occupy that particular position. Now, tell me, how do you motivate people to come to our education industry? Well, definitely not. So there comes the point. The government has to take some measures there. Then comes the gross enrollment ratio. So that's a very big challenge. And of course, abroad, the teacher-student ratio is very less for a simple reason. Number of people enrolling for higher education itself is very less. They generally don't, because their undergrad programs itself are so strong. You know, they don't feel the need to go for a higher education, but that is a postgraduate program. But in India, and for your information, all these foreign universities survive only because of international students. And definitely it is possible at the macro level, again with the intervention of some regulatory bodies. For example, the way AICT says you should have so many number of faculty. You know, that kind of a regulatory mechanism can definitely manage the teacher-student ratio, and you will be able to cover most of the students in the country, sir.
Hope I got the answer. There are so many questions. I'll request the participants can directly ask the question to resource person or can mail to ma'am. We'll give another 2 to 3 questions. We'll take the questions, ma'am. Is it okay, ma'am? As we are running out of time. Yeah.
Sure.
May I ask Subhash Patil to ask the question, please? Subhash Patil is there?
Yeah. Am I audible, madam?
Yes, you are very
sir.
much audible.
Please go on.
Madam, I am Subhash Patil from Belgavi, Karnataka. My question is, that was a very excellent session that madam has presented here, and madam has covered almost all the points here with respect to the globalization and the higher education. But I have a small doubt with respect to the globalization and the higher education. So one issue is, when we are thinking of the globalization and our national education policy it is competing with the international the nation states so-called the new education policy. So whether our education policy stands out of this nation states education policy, that's the issue number one. Issue number two is, most of the so-called the classical universities and the classical so-called the colleges, especially in the South India, they are thinking of closing down social sciences and languages. Now, under the globalization process here, what are your solutions to overcome this particular problem? Thank you, madam.
Thank you, Mr. Subhash. Let me quickly answer your first question. You're talking about the standards.
Yeah.
So all these countries were once developing nations, sir. Today they have become developed nations. We are also in the journey. Sir, until and unless we make a beginning, if not, what happens is, you know, from the time since my childhood, I have been hearing the same thing, that we are not up to the standard. Till when can we go ahead with like this? Somewhere we have to make a beginning, look up to the benchmarks, start making efforts. That's the first answer. Your second question was about social sciences, humanities. Sir, the new education policy is going to bring in multidisciplinary courses. Multidisciplinary is going to be the order of the day. So I'm sure, and again, in fact, that has been a great problem only in South India. So in North India, there's a lot of scope for humanities. You will find a lot of people enrolling for BA, political science, sociology, psychology. Here in South India, it's a mindset. I think, you know, parents have to be counseled first. If a child says, I want to become a lawyer, they will say, lawyer. If a child says, I want to become a journalist, they will say, somebody is going to kill you. They're not killing the profession, they're killing the dreams of a child. You have no right to stop the child from studying and pursuing what he or she likes. So when you hold parents, teachers meetings in the schools level, please educate parents. Social sciences can be revived. The NEP is bringing in multidisciplinary approach in all the courses. Sir, I'm sure sciences, that is STEM, science, technology, engineering, mathematics, humanities will gain a lot of importance. Just have patience and wait for some time. And I'm, I am a commerce and management person, but I've always believed if the society has to be complete, we need to have humanities. We need to have life sciences. It has to be holistic. You cannot have people only who can think with business mind. You also need people who can think from their heart, who can think poetically, who can converge your brain and heart together as well. Only then the society is complete. I hope I have answered your question, Mr. Subhash.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
thank you, sir.
Thank you. As we are really running out of time, even we wish to discuss with you. We are also very enthusiastic. As a one question we can take at the end, then we can go further. Ramchandra sir, are you there? Can you unmute yourself and ask the question to ma'am?
Madam, yes, madam.
Yeah, please go ahead with the question only, sir.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, madam. Thank you. Dr. R. Ramchandran, Department of Commerce, Annamalai University from Tamil Nadu. It's a great, your wonderful session. I was highly impressed over your lecture. Nice. There is no to tell about your informative session. There are three clarifications. There are three clarifications that I want from your side. The first thing is that there will be many boards in India. Take example UGC, and you can take example AICTE and international boards. There are three or many boards, and there are different forms of educational streams in India: state boards, central boards, and international boards. As in this situation, how we can brought about over for internationalization or globalization? And clarification is, there is a linguistic problem in India. As in case of Tamil Nadu, we bilanguage, but bilanguage in this present digitalized scenario or in any other multi-situational era, we can't go for such a policy. As we might have to go for 3 language or 4 language likewise. So many even doctorates, many highly learned personalities, scientists maybe have some lacuna over in this issue, how this globalization will be a solution. And third clarification is, this is the last one, India, our Mahatma Gandhi, father of nation, says, India depends on rural. India, our Mahatma says India relies on rural. Many rural, and even our sitting beloved PM of India has stressed that there are more than 23,000 houses didn't have electric connectivity in many states of India, from top to bottom, east to west or south to north. So in this situation, in rural mass, even there are many children are dying due to starvation. How we can educate them? How we can go for internationalization, globalization on this social cause? On this social cause. These are all the prime clarifications. Please, please, madam, please. Thank you for the opportunity. Thank you, madam. Thank you, madam, very much.
Thank you, Professor. Let me quickly answer your first question. When we talk about the regulatory bodies, so there is going to be a complete revamp of the regulatory bodies and the mechanism. For example, there will be Higher Education Commission of India, under which we will have the National Higher Education Regulatory Council, that will be NHERC, which is going to regulate and monitor the activities. There will be a Higher Education Grants Council. There's going to be a General Education Council. So there is going to be a complete revamp of the structure of the regulatory mechanism, right? So they have, because any new policy will always come with a legislative framework. So this framework is again completely changed. The second question, because I don't want to get into the details due to paucity of time, so I have quickly answered your first question about the regulatory bodies. The second question is about the languages. So of course, the NEP focuses on multilingualism, and it also gives a lot of importance to the mother tongue, right? That is the language of that particular state, which will be given a lot of importance. So as I already mentioned in my presentation, the business language is English. We like it or we don't like it, we have to learn it. So of course, there are certain people who are very pro towards their state language. All said and done, again, they come back and say that we do not have adequate employment opportunities. Simple. No communication, no job. And again, you spoke about poverty. So how do we overcome poverty? That is one of the goals of the Sustainable Development Goals given by the United Nations. Now, to overcome poverty, we cannot bring in schemes and give money to poor people. Make them educated, make them independent, make them realize their responsibility. It's not just about demanding the government to give something, but also it is time that these people are realized what are their duties and responsibility. They also have some accountability towards the nation. So all these problems have one single answer, that is education. That is, you said that there are certain doctorate holders, who find it very difficult to communicate. Sir, it is never too late to begin learning something new. You don't know English, start learning it now. Get into the mainstream. You cannot say that I don't know, I live in a remote area, I have no connectivity. Build connectivity. And again, one more step, 5G is going to be the tomorrow. 5G is going to penetrate. I'm sure within the next few months time, the network infrastructure problem is going to be absolutely out of market. We will all have excellent infrastructure in terms of networking. I hope I've answered your question, sir. Thank you, Professor.
Bhargavi ma'am, really it's an excellent answer. It is not only the government's responsibility to give everything to us. Our part is also very essential in it. There are various things which are, as you said, we should just get ready for the situation, whatever is coming ahead to us. We should just face it. Dear participants, really we are very thankful for such a nice comments you are putting and such an excellent questions you are posing. Just forgive us that because of the shortage of time, we have to be like this. Now, after thanking ma'am, really it's on behalf of myself, I'm just thankful to you to have a wonderful session, a discussion and enlightened session. Now, may I request Mr. Ashok Maman, Assistant Professor of Commerce and Management, to sum up the session and to give a vote of thanks. Ashok Maman, sir, please.
Yeah, good afternoon. Am I audible to you?
Yes, sir, you are very much audible.
Yes. So good afternoon once again. Let me present to you a report on today's session. Our resource person for the day, Dr. Bhargavi VR, enlightened us on the topic, Globalization of Indian Higher Education. Dr. Bhargavi illustrated our current era, an era where we are in Industry 4.0, a digital convergence we find all around, the cyber and the physical, that merging convergence we are seeing all around. Secondly, education 4.0, education as well as educators 4.0, where teaching is transformed by technology. And the third was society 4.0, the influence of technology on society. You find increased interaction between machines and learning, machines and human beings. So this were the three categories that we are facing in this particular era. And the question we need to ask ourselves is, are we able to strike a balance between education and industry and society? Madam threw light on where a country stands. Some statistics was provided. India has the second largest education network, has the largest, but the and thirdly, India ranks 72nd. Again, is not quality a concern? Dr. Bhargavi pointed out that there is a new normal. The words used were rethink, realign, reimagine, recreate. These words are very powerful and thought-provoking. The national education policy is aligned with the UN Sustainable Development Goal, particularly Goal 4, talks about Global Education Development Agenda as per the SDG, that is the UN Sustainable Development Goal. So our national education policy is well aligned with this Sustainable Development Goal. Madam also pointed out that we need to prepare on the grounds of curriculum, the pedagogy, the faculty, the research preparedness, the partnership preparedness, the infrastructural preparedness. Further, Madam elaborated on the intervention happened due to the introduction of or the implementation of the NEP. Interventions by the use of technology, by greater flexibility, by being more multidisciplinary learning, a reduction in the cost of education, increased employability and collaboration to promote India as a global study destination, to promote research, teaching collaborations, and high-performing Indian universities to be set up in campuses abroad. Further, Madam raised the question, how will the future higher education be monitored? The role of the government was discussed here. Further, Madam opined about the new government, the new education policy, which demanded a changed mindset, a global mindset, where you have an international mobility which could aid in skill development, that can lead to collaboration, that can lead to networking, that can lead to the application of better and best practices. And further, there could be faculty and student exchange programs. Dr. Bhargavi reminded us faculty members that as faculty members, our role was to mold students as human beings, make human really human. That was the concluding statement made by Madam. This was a brief report on today's session. Thank you, Dr. Bhargavi. And now let me propose a vote of thanks. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. We have come to the close of day 2 of the FDP session. It's my privilege to propose a vote of thanks on this second day on new education policy 2021 and higher education in India. On behalf of Dr. NSAMFGC, the management, faculty members, and on behalf of the participants, I extend my gratitude to Dr. Bhargavi. We are head of the Department of M.Com, Sheshadripuram College, Bengaluru. We are fortunate to have you in our midst today, and thank you for enlightening us on the topic globalization of Indian higher education. You were kind enough to take the question and answer session in other languages, making the participants comfortable. Thank you, Madam. My heartfelt thanks to our beloved principal, Dr. R. Shanti Iyer, for the encouragement and support in the conduct of the FDP. Thank you, Madam. I thank Srimati Chitra, the principal of Dr. N.S.A.M PU College, for gracing the occasion with her presence. Thank you, Madam. I'm very thankful to all the participants of this meeting who have logged in from different parts of the country. We have enjoyed and we were eager to learn, and we have enjoyed the session today. A sincere thanks to all of you for your time. I place in record my thanks to the committee members and the organizing team for your support. I thank Dr. Annapurna Kishore for moderating today's session, Dr. Sindhu for the welcome address, and Sri Shekhar for the introduction of the resource person. And I thank all my faculty members who have extended their relentless support. We look forward to meet you for the day 3 session tomorrow at 11 a.m. Thank you all. Good day. Now let us stand up for the national anthem.
National anthem.
मन अधिनायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता पंजाब सिंध गुजरात मराठा द्राविड़ उत्कल बंगा विंध्य हिमाचल यमुना गंगा उज्जल जलधि तरंगा तव शुभ नामे जागे तव शुभ आशीष मांगे जनगण मंगलदायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता जय हे जय हे जय हे जय 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 हे
I think the technical team can give the due instructions to the participant to fill the feedback. Chiranjeevi sir, you are there online.
Okay, good afternoon, one and all present here. Then announcement from technical committee. The feedback forms are already shared in the chat box and it will be shared in the official WhatsApp groups. Please fill it and submit at the earliest. Thank you.
Sir, I have a request. If you could share the feedback with me also.
You will keep the chat box open for 10 to 15 minutes so that
Yes.
it will be convenient for participant to share the feedback. They will need some time to.
It will be again shared in the WhatsApp groups also.
Yeah, because some of them are not the WhatsApp members, so they request.
Some of them are attending the live session, madam, in the YouTube. For their convenience, we'll share it also.
So should you on the video to take the photograph?
We request all the participants, please, for a while on your video so that we can take a group photo, screenshot.
Shanti ma'am, I had a request.
Yes, please.
If you could please share the feedback with me also.
Definitely, madam, definitely.
So that I can also check on my improvement areas.
Yeah,
definitely.
Yeah, sure.
Much.
Yes, yeah.
And also, ma'am, somebody is asking your email also. Just put it in your chat box, ma'am.
Yeah.
Sure, sir.
Okay.
Yeah, Bhargavi madam has shared the email. So.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you all.
So thank you so much, Professor Bhargavi, and it was nice having you as a resource person. And I am very sure that the listeners, the audience, they must have taken tons together with them as your, as the thoughts, how to go ahead in this field, how to internalize NEP is very important. Internalization of NEP is very, very important. First of all, we need to be open-minded and take it imbibing. Yeah,
yes,
that's important. Yes. Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah. Thank you so much, ma'am, for the opportunity. It was a really wonderful time with all of you and all the respected participants here with us. Thank you so much for the opportunity.
Yes, you're welcome, ma'am. Yes, yeah.
Take care, all of you. Have a wonderful day ahead.
Yeah. All of you all, please. Yeah, stay home, stay safe.
Thank you, ma'am. You too. Bye-bye, ma'am.
Bye.
See you, Dr. Annapurna. And thanks to the technical team for all the support.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.